Hello, my name is Janelle Joseph and I am aspiring to be an art therapist. I'm going to be an art therapist, and I'm going to tell you a bit about art therapy and the benefits to it, because a lot of people don't know what it is. A lot of the time I get asked, what's that? So I'm going to share with you my experiences of art therapy and why it's something that I'm going to go into as a lifelong career. So basically, when I was young, I actually experienced art therapy myself, and this was brought about because my father was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, or back then known as manic depression. I didn't quite know how to possibly express my feelings about it, and because I was into art naturally as a child, my mum took me to see, I think originally she just took me to see a counsellor, and they advised that art therapy could be something that's beneficial for a child, because I was a child at the time, a child in my circumstances. So that was my introduction to art therapy when I was younger, and I would find myself, looking back on it now, I would find myself going to this building. This is when I didn't know anything about art therapy. I'd go to this building as a child with my mum. I was about 11, I believe, 11, 12. And would be in this room, and there would be various art materials, clay, all sorts. And I might pick some clay and start creating something. And sometimes I just sat there in silence creating until I got more comfortable with the space. The therapist that was there would then start maybe throwing one or two questions at me about just generally how I felt. I can't remember with detail, but in a nutshell how I felt. And as time went on, I'd turn up there every day, choose whatever creative form I wanted to work with that day, and sometimes I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to sit and talk, and sometimes I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to be in my own little zone. And then she sometimes would throw questions at me, and I would start talking about them while creating. This is how I remember it as a child. And then through that, I was able to start exploring my emotions. Speeding on down the line now of my life, I found I revisited art therapy when I lost family members, my brother, my dad, and just other, like when sad things would happen in my life, I'd always go back to it. And then when even joyful things happened in my life, I'd start creating. It was a good outlet to explore and process emotions. But it was very beneficial to me when my father passed. When I started seeing a bereavement counsellor, and she knew I was into art therapy from a child, so she asked if we'd like to explore it again, so we did. And I found that it helped me process a lot of the emotions that I was dealing with but wasn't actually able to verbalise. So what would happen then in the art therapy sessions is I would come in again to a room full of different materials and stuff, just generally start making, create something, and then at the end she would ask me about the piece of work and why I created it, what it meant to me, and not even in the deep, just generally, oh, okay, this looks good, but what made you, say for instance, on this piece, what made you write the letters within the flowers? And for this piece, I realised I started writing letters associated to people that were close to me or people that I had experiences with. And just through that, a conversation formed. And then again, I realised that there was things that I needed to process. Like a young boy that I worked with passed away, and his name was Xavier. So I've put a little X in the flower there. But sitting there and talking through things, but being able to be free creatively allowed me to just have a safe space to explore emotions and process feelings, and an outlet to just get it out. So when I left that room, I felt a lot lighter, for instance. But let me go into what art therapy is from my perspective. It's a safe space for a person to process feelings and process emotions and a lot of people think, oh, it's therapy, so someone like interrogating you and it's someone throwing questions at you and pressurizing you, and it's so not the case, because anything that comes out of it comes from you, the client, and not the therapist. They can't make up things from thin air. So it's like, for instance, I might create a piece of work and today I'll look at it, like for instance, I done this piece a while back, and I don't know if you can see it clearly, but it represents, it's me visiting my dad in the hospice because my dad passed away. And back then I looked at this and recreated that imagery, and it evoked a lot of feelings at the time, but it allowed me to let out what I was holding. And then another day I could look at this, and on that day, sorry, I'd look at it and it would be quite sad to look at it. But then I could come back to it and look at it in a different light. So I might revisit this now and be like, oh yeah, them beautiful moments that I had with my dad at that point. So it actually brings to surface how I'm feeling at a certain time. Not necessarily that what you put down is set in stone. It still comes back to me and my thoughts. So that's what I mean about the therapist can't assume what you've drawn to mean a certain thing. It all has to come from you, the client. Yeah, so basically art therapy for me has been extremely beneficial in just helping me get through life, to be honest. A lot of people don't know that art therapy even exists, and a lot of people don't even think about art as a therapy, which anyone can do art as a therapy, like anybody. Like for instance, I created this, which is like a mood board of what I foresee in my life or what was going on in my life, and this is just literally basically magazine cutouts of things that meant different things. When I created this, I wanted to learn how to drive, I wanted to travel to Barcelona, I wanted to, yeah, just at the time I was engaged. So you can just pick up anything. I just got lost in this and was able to create, and I'm able now to look back on it and either use it as I've got a smaller version. I've took a picture of this and put a smaller version of it in my room, and it was something I used as a thing to kind of push me forward and give me drive to keep going with life and the things I was aspiring to. Art therapy also, when like dealing with grief for me, when I lost certain family members, I used it to, how can I put this? Again, as I've said before, just to process what was going on. I had a nervous breakdown after after my dad passed away, because I just kept on working. When he first passed, I just kept on working. I just, didn't even really realise what grief was and stuff like that, and it took its toll on me. And then for me to get back, I kind of lost myself, to be honest, totally lost myself. I had to stop working. I was working in theatre behind the scenes. I was a set designer, and I had to just put work to bed. I was going through anxiety disorder and depression at the time through grief, through grief, but through going to art therapy sessions, I was able to, bit by bit, kind of get certain things out. It brought back things from when my dad had bipolar. It was a whole process, but I was able to have this outlet, this creative outlet. And you don't have to be creative. You don't have to be a creative person to do art therapy, because we were all born with the skills to even draw a line. Well, majority of us would draw a line, or to play with sand, or to just finger paint, whatever really. And it's not just about painting as well. You can get creative therapies, music therapy, dance therapy, all sorts of different creative therapies, which helps us tap into a whole nother part of our brain that allows us to pull out all the deep, could be deep, dark, or even light things that we hold within us but might not necessarily be able to talk about. So like for instance, the sun. I love the sun. For me, it rejuvenates me. So I created this piece to express that. And nowadays I can pull this piece out or pull it on my wall, and it will create that same feeling. Even if it's a grey day outside, I can look at this and it can give me back a bit of that warmth. Okay, it's not the real sun, but because it's come from me, my subconscious, my conscious, and it's vibrant. To me, it felt, I've captured the feeling I needed to capture. And even like I said, even if you're not creative and you're not an artist, or just putting things down on paper, or even crumpling up paper, or just, yeah, just being creative as a whole can tap into, just try it, I suppose, because you know, you won't know unless you try these things, but can tap into certain energies within us that you don't expect. I mean, if you go to the doctors, they're so quick to issue antidepressants and stuff like that, and you know, I'm not a fan of them, but if everybody has to do what works for them. But in addition to that, you don't, there's no harm in being creative. And it's such a, what's the word? It's just such a powerful tool that majority of people don't realise can just have so many benefits for them in so many different ways. I mean, I can't tell you in this piece how great art therapy is. You can even look it up, the different forms of creative therapies that are out there, but they are out there. Not a lot of people just don't know about them, you know. Yeah, this piece I created actually was in group art therapy, and that's where you go, and it's me plus there was about 8 other people there. You enter a room and there's lots of different art materials. Again, not everybody was creative, people just wanted to try it out, and you get given a theme, and I think we was told to just create somewhere that made us smile and made us like happy, or took us back to a memory or a dream or anything. And for me, Jamaica is my like #1 home and holiday place to go. And so in that session I just recreated my idea of Jamaica at that point, and sitting on the beach and being able to escape. And again, it's like for that moment I was able to escape while creating this, and it's a healthy escape. It's not like watching the TV where you can escape but yet you're being consumed by whatever's on the TV. This is me and my own thoughts, and in pleasant thoughts. And I left there feeling quite energized, and when I left that therapy group I left there feeling quite energized and light and quite very happy when creating this. Yeah, so it brings back, I've put, I don't know if you can see, it says LPJ in the water, and that stands for love, peace and joy, and that's just a motto that me and my family use, so I've put it within the picture as well. But yeah, palm trees are my favourite thing, so again I've put that on there. And this is one of the pieces I can look back and smile on. I can take myself back to Jamaica when I look at it, and even the thought of making it comes back to mind, and that brings a positive feeling in me. So again, it just can help me on the day. I can just pull this out, look at it, and go back to the thoughts of when I was creating it and how it makes me feel now, basically, which brings on positive feelings, which is always a good thing, you know. That's just a simple form of how being creative can help us. This piece is quite ironic, because I created this when I was in college, and it never actually, at the time, it had stuff to do, it wasn't necessarily directly related to art therapy. But the reason why I brought it out today is because I've looked back at this piece and realised that I was doing art therapy before I even realised it. And that's usually a lot of the case when people are being creative anyway. You're just creating without thinking, because it taps in, when I was saying about it taps into your subconscious. And at the time in college, I was going through an eating disorder. At the time I was, bulimic? And looking back on this piece just a couple of weeks ago, I realised I had actually put that element within my piece, where I'm not sure if you can see it from here, but I've put eating disorders, it says anorexia, eating disorders and bulimia and problems and all different things I've actually put in the piece. This piece was about change, and it's about me growing up and going through change in life, and the whole creation of life, of dying and like being born, dying, and you know, becoming an angel in my head at that point, and about life basically. And looking back on this piece now, it evokes feelings and emotions, because the way it's kind of panned out is as I've been saying, I've gone through quite a lot of grief in life, but we all do. You know, a lot of people pass. It's a part of life I'm starting to accept. But anyway, I'm not going to go too much into that. But the reason why I'm talking about this piece is because this was a piece which wasn't related to art therapy, but yet, funnily enough, was. Because I've been able to express certain things within it when I wasn't even aware. But now I've got this awareness, I can look at this and it again can help me process certain things in my life today, you know. So yeah, just showing you that, because you might just do a doodle in a sketchbook, which I've got a sketchbook which I do doodles in, and other kind of, sometimes it's not even drawing, it's like written things. I might just write things in black pen. You could carry this in my bag, you know. And I might be on the bus, someone might bump into me with me, or I might be having a bad day. And I'm on the bus journey, on the train journey, I can just scribble down something. By the time I get off the bus, I actually feel better because I've released that energy onto the page, close the book, get on with my day, and I'm having a beautiful day. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is people should, like, you can try it out, you know. You don't have to go to a therapist to explore the powerfulness of creativity, or just even if you like writing, or if you just want to scribble on a page and get anger out one day, you know, you can do that. The benefits of actually having proper art therapy is that you have a trained therapist that helps you and guides you through your processing of your emotions. So you are in an actual safe space, and you are in a place where if it all comes from you, but they're there to kind of keep you safe almost, you know. So that process of whatever it is you're processing, and some people don't even realize they got stuff to process, but we do, because we all go through different things in life, you know. But that therapist is there to help guide you through that, you know. And that's what I'm inspiring to, well, that's what I'm going to be doing, you know. So I've seen, as you can see, as a little insight of how powerful art therapy has been into my life, I'm now going to return the favour to the universe and provide this service to anybody that wants it, to be honest. So yeah, thank you.